The Kemper player has some problems. Let's talk about what they are. Welcome back to the mix. I'm ABD. Today we're going to talk about the Kemper Profiler player. I'm lucky enough to have one to test for you today, so we can take a close look at it and why I think it might not be worth the money. So, first things first, the construction of the device is actually very nice. High quality, all metal. The pots and the knobs feel all good, nice to turn. They're not too quick or too loose or too tight. Looking at the overall layout, at the top left we have Effects 1 and Effects 2 with 2 buttons and 2 knobs. Then we have a gain knob, bass, middle, treble, rig volume, master volume. Then you have a button for Bluetooth and a button for the cone effect. And then below that you have a bank button and then 5 buttons for 5 presets and a button for your tap tuner. At the bottom here you have 3 foot switches with a tuner LED between 2 and 3, which is always on, which is kind of an interesting feature on the pedal. You have a tuner that you can always glance at that is always on to tune up. And then you have above the 3 foot switches 2 LEDs that are used for different functions. On top of the device, you have your inputs. Starting from the right, you have the 9 to 12 volt power input. To the left of that, you have USB, the old big type USB, I think USB-A or whatever. Next to that, you have a normal USB. To the left of that, you have your one mono XLR output. And that was one of the things that people were upset about with this pedal. It doesn't have stereo XLR out, only mono. If you want and or need to go out stereo, you have 2 TRS outputs left and right. To the right of that, you have headphone, expression pedal, and all the way to the left, you have your instrument input. And so, all of that is laid out pretty well. To me, the mono output TRS doesn't really bother me. If I need to do stereo, I can do that. TRS. Some people are really upset about that. I'm not really one of those people. I have some other issues with the actual device, namely that it doesn't sound as good as I would like it to. There are other pedals. This year was a pretty big year for modeling pedals, little tiny modeling pedals that you could put on your pedal board. Universal Audio, for example, has released a number of amp and pedal solutions over the past year or two. And here you have almost everything Kemper can do in a more affordable, smaller solution that you can put on your pedal board. And more importantly, in the last year, IK Media has released the ToneX, which we have one to test here for you today as well. The ToneX is only $400, and it doesn't offer as many features and effects like the Kemper does. It's really just an amp or amps in a box. The Kemper can make use of actual signal chains and effects like modulation, for example, more similar to another product, the Line 6 Helix, for example, in the HX Stomp solution. The same price as the Kemper, $700, but it has more features. One of those being an effects loop on the side there, which the ToneX and the Kemper does not have. It also has a full LED screen, and it can do that full signal chain with effects like the Kemper. So in this video, we're going to do some samples from the HX Stomp, the ToneX, and the Kemper Profiler player, and we'll take a look at the software for each of them as well, so you can make your own decision on which one you think you might need in your studio. And just take a listen to what each one of these sound like. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you at the end of the video. So here we have Rig Manager open on desktop, Windows, and we can take a look at a couple different things here. In the top center, you have your browser to go through all of your different rigs. To the left, you have your different libraries. Right now we're on the Profiler itself, which has 50 different rigs that you can store on the pedal. Then you have a local library, you have the Rig Exchange where people go and upload different things, and then you have your rig packs that come with the Kemper Profiler, and you can download more of these. And you can find other rigs different places online that you can purchase. You can search through your browser over here, and you get some information about the different rigs here. In the browser itself, you have your name, the date that it was uploaded, the author, the amount of gain you can expect, if you're favoriting it, what you're rating it, what amp it's based on, and what cabinet. Then in the middle, you have your signal chain from system all the way to output, and then down here, you have your controls for the individual rigs. And so in comparison, if we look at the ToneX app, it's laid out in kind of a similar way. You have your browser down here, you have your information about your cabs to the right, not unlike the Kemper Rig Manager, and then you have your signal chain pretty much at top here, and you have a nice graphic UI tweakable interface here to adjust the individual amps. And then finally, if we take a look at the HX Edit software for the Helix, you find something a little different. You have your browser on the left here, your signal chain at the top here, and then you have an edit window down here with a bunch of parameters. You have your individual amps here. You have your different categories here from pedals to modulation, EQ, amp, amp and cab, preamp, just cab, IR, volume pan, send return, looper. So you do have more control here where you can actually use the send and return on the pedal to input whatever you might want to do. Some people actually use the ToneX and the HX Stomp together for kind of an Ultra Voltron type thing, and you can definitely do that. So you can see there's a pretty big difference between the different software, and they do have different parameters in each of them. One of the things that's a negative about the HX Edit software is I wish that you could see these nice amps a little bigger. You can make the UI for these bigger because you just kind of click on them, and the icons are really tiny. So now we can jump back to the Kemper software and get some tones. So back in the Kemper Rig Manager, we can go through some tones and presets. So first we have a Fender Twin type tone here. And here right in the middle you have your signal chain, and you have on this preset, for example, we have a compressor and a green screen, but that's not on. If we turn it on here, you can also do it on the pedal itself. You get this. So that was a pretty clean Fender Twin sound. If we try a Marshall, for example, we get this. And so honestly, in my opinion, I think the Fender tones sound a lot better than the Marshall tones. I think the Marshall are some of the weakest they have here. To me, they sound kind of fuzzy and digital and not in a great way. But if we move on to something even heavier, let's try a 5150, a PV 5150. And you can see, for example, in this signal chain, we don't have that much going on. We have a noise gate, the threshold that you can adjust there. You have two empty spots, but here we have the reverb, which is off. If we turn it on, here's what you get. And you do have different types of reverb that you can switch between. If you go to the little tooltip here, you have all of your different effects. And if you go to reverb, you can see the different ones that you have: spring reverb, easy reverb, echo, legacy. And right now we're on easy reverb. And we can change it to like a cave, for example. So I think some of the higher gain amps sound pretty good, especially if you get in there and you tweak it and get your reverb and whatever you need set up. But besides that, if we move on to something maybe even a little more high gain, like a Soldano, you get this. And we can try to mess around with this a little more than we have before. If we go to the empty slot here and let's try a chorus, for example. Cool. And if we go to this other empty category, what else could we add? Maybe some delay. And then if we go back to the reverb and turn that on, because it was off, and change the type of reverb, something different, maybe aftermath. Here's what you get. And so that's if we get really spacey or mess around with a high gain amp. If we go back to something a little more clean, like that Twin from before, and we try some of these effects we've been messing around with. So that was a quick look at the software on Windows, and the reason we did it on Windows is because I could not get it to work on the mobile app. That's one of the negatives, and one of the reasons I would tell you to maybe not get the Kemper Profiler player, is that the connectivity with the app through Bluetooth or Wi-Fi just doesn't seem to work. Now we can take a look at the HX Edit software and the ToneX software to see how they compare, as well as compare some tones between similar amps. So there you go. What did you think? Which one was your favorite? Let me know in the comments down below. In my opinion, I think the Kemper is my least favorite. And I don't know if that's because maybe their profiling technology is getting a little old, or if I just don't love the type of technology that they're using. In my opinion, I think as far as amps go, the ToneX sounds the best in the comparison that we had. But as far as if I wanted a full complete package with the pedals and the signal chain and everything that I might want, I would probably go with the Line 6 HX Stomp. Or if you're a plug-in kind of person, Line 6 does offer the HX native software you can plug in and use through an interface. But in my opinion, I think the Kemper is just not worth it. Even though you get all of these amps in a little digital stomp box, I still think that there are better options for you. I obviously didn't compare all of the different options that are available, but we did compare 3 of the most popular. So again, let me know in the comments which one was your favorite, which one you have if you do have one. If you're trying to get a Kemper player, let me know if you're still excited or maybe a little disappointed. But overall, it's not a bad product. It still does something incredibly well that not many other products do. It's just there's so much competition now from other people in the industry that they might need to step up their game a little bit. Another thing that I did want to talk about very quickly is that Kemper has talked about adding features to the player that don't exist, like actual profiling capabilities and more profiles and things like that. People have called it DLC. Jokingly, they don't want to spend money on DLC for a piece of equipment like this, and I agree. I think that's a pretty reasonable way for people to feel about a product like this, especially when there's products like the ToneX that are almost just as good for a little less. Obviously, it doesn't have all of the same capabilities, but as far as amps and how they sound, I think the ToneX sounds the best. And you use the ToneX software, and you have access to all of these different models that people have uploaded of every amp in the world. Kemper is very similar, but Line 6 is kind of limited in how many amps that they've modeled. They do update it and add more models as time goes on, but the ToneX, anyone in the world can upload their amp and their signal chain, and they can do what they need to do. Some people would tell you to get two ToneX pedals, and you can use one as maybe your foot control, your foot switch for like a TS 808 or for like a Klon, something like that. And then you have your second ToneX pedal for your amp and cabinet. And then after that in the signal chain, you would have your delay and reverb, which is another negative of the ToneX, or one of the few negatives of the ToneX, is that it doesn't have an effects loop. So if you're using a delay and reverb, it would have to be after the amp, and that's technically after the microphone on the cabinet. And to do that, you would have to lower the reverb on the actual ToneX. And sometimes you can get some weird kind of results trying to do that, but usually it's pretty successful. So again, let me know in the comments what you think. And this debate will continue on as more products are released, especially as all eyes look to Neural DSP with a new, hopefully, quad, duo, mini, Cortex, because now that the ToneX is out, and especially now that Kemper has a solution for $700, Neural DSP has to do something. So I'm hoping that later this year we'll see that pedal from them for around the same price. I think it could be even more, like 800, and it would sell better than this. But that's what I hope for. That's what I'm looking forward to. And I think until then, I'm going to keep the ToneX. And I might try a flat response cabinet speaker, but for now, I'm using my studio monitors, and I think it sounds just fine. You can do After Effects, post effects in your DAW and things like that, and I think it sounds amazing. I'm very happy with it. But thank you for watching. Until next time, play guitar and be awesome. Welcome back to the mix. I'm ABD. Today we're going to talk about the Kemper Profiler Player that just came out. Universal Audio has released a few. Universal Audio has released a few different Stomp box. Universal Audio. Na 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 na. Welcome back to the mix. I'm ABD. Today we're going to talk about the Kemper Profiler Player, the hot new item that a lot of people are trying to get their hands on because it's sold out most places I look online.